Just gotta wait for this now to load. All right. So, welcome everyone. Oh shoot! I gotta mute myself there because the only way I'm gonna be able to watch comments in case they happen. Where did she go? Oh, awkward. Well, this isn't quite what I expected. Well, this is awkward. Yeah, okay, that's done. I am here to basically, well, I had a guest with me for a second there, and now she's not here somehow, some way. I had 2 participants, now I just have 1. I don't know what happened exactly. So I'm just gonna find out really quick, because she was literally there when I launched. And, she's gone now. This has literally been, wow, one of those moments. Oh, there we go. She's back. Okay. Hi.
Hi, again.
So, as I hit the launch button, I literally just hit the launch button, right?
Yeah.
So, you went out right when the stream started.
I know. Yes.
So,
it's how to make a grand. I'm making a grand entrance.
I see that. So, there she is, ladies and gentlemen. I just basically just hit the audio record button. This is going to be a very, very different version of the Just Joshing podcast tonight. I am not going to be doing a standard interview tonight. It's going to be a little bit more of a literal travelogue. That doesn't mean I won't be asking some questions. We're going to probably preface that. But for the next 45 minutes or so, Patti Shales Lefkos is going to tell us a little bit about some of her wandering travels. And at some point, I got wait. So, So, this is what I've done. So, Patti, I give you the power. You are the host. You are the host. You have the power. So when you want to actually share, if you want to share anything, you can do so, right? So as you go. But my first question, and the one I think that should be mentioned, is you're well known as a writer, but you're also well known as a traveler and a hiker, and you've seen some incredible things. How did that start?
Well, I was raised in a suburb in Toronto. I did all the expected things. I went to university, became a teacher, blah, blah, blah. But along the way, a few things happened. When I was 10, my grandfather died and left each of his grandchildren $100. And Mom and Dad just said, buy something important that you'll remember Grandpa by. And I bought a typewriter and said, I'm going to be a writer one day. And then when I was 15, I guess, in grade 10 in Ontario, we had to read Lost Horizon by James Hilton, the story of finding Shangri-La. And suddenly a world of the mountains and the wisdom of the Dalai Lama and special mystical places in the mountains opened up. And then I was really lucky when I did Ontario grade 13, I did it in Switzerland. So I lived in Switzerland for a year, and I lived on the 3rd floor of a house, and across Lake Neuchâtel, I could see the Swiss Alps. So that kind of cemented my love of the mountains and travel. But then I came home to Canada, and for my entire teaching career, I was a teacher, a principal, a consultant. I moved out west. I married a mountain guide, but still we stayed in North America. And then when we retired, we finally got passports again and started traveling all over. So we started with a trip. Well, first of all, we did, ski trips and paddling trips. We paddled the Yukon River, paddled from Kingston to Ottawa in Ontario on the Rideau Canal, did lots of ski trips, but nothing out of the North American continent. And you didn't need a passport for the States then.
No, I still remember like when I was a kid, like because I grew up like I'm in Windsor now, but my family's always had ties here.
Mhm.
I still remember
Mhm.
when the birth certificate was just good enough to get you across the border. Like you could
Mhm.
literally just, here we are,
Absolutely.
Canadian. Why are you here? That was it. Like that was all that was required. The passport came about as a result of 9/11, and it changed everything. Are you still there? Uh, well, well, folks, I this has been already an unexpectedly wild time.
Yep.
You back?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
like I said, like I was
Yep.
saying before you went off there, um, it was not unusual. It was not unusual for anyone to just cross the border and just be, normal, like as in just able to go in and do your thing and not worry about. No, she is gone again. Well, this is definitely an awkward night. Huh. Oh, look, world. You can see my hairline. Woohoo! This is awkward, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hoping that, I don't know what's going on exactly here. But, it is what it is. And, well, while we wait for Patty possibly to come back, I'm hoping she comes back. Let's talk about what's going on here. She's come back. She's trying to come back. She's close. Okay, audio's in. I can't see
I'm
you.
here.
Okay. I don't know what's going
Hmm?
on. I don't know what's going on. Like you,
Yeah. My video and sound are both on. So,
no. I see you now. Like
oh,
I see
okay.
you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. It might be my computer. It might be. I have no idea what the issue is.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
Well, we'll try to do this a couple more minutes. If we can't do it here, we'll try it again when maybe things are a little saner. Just so
Sure. Sure.
yeah. If I'm sorry for what it's worth, it's just one of those. I don't know what's going on.
No, no, don't worry about it. If we have to do it another evening, that's okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like I was saying before we get it, like traveling got a lot more restricted like in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's ironic because right before the pandemic, it had actually gotten easier to travel again. Right,
Mhm.
a passport had actually become relatively easy to acquire, and
Yeah.
although a pain in the ass, still it was easy to acquire. And airports had actually finally gotten to the point where here, scan this, you're in, you're good, and no
Yep.
lines, no.
And
Jesus, I've had some
except
incredible
for
bad.
Tibet and China, visas were pretty where we went. If you go to the airport,
Oh no. I don't know what's going on with that. That is so weird. Um, I really don't know what's happening, folks. It's one of those situations where, oops, I guess I don't really have a magic answer here. You there? You there, Patty? Nope. Just gonna make her the host, yes. Patty is the host now. This has been awkward. I'm not really sure what to say here other than, this is the BC curse, it seems like. Because I tried talking to Jill Marie Robinson, and I, for whatever reason, could not get a hold of her. And last night, I mean, and it's weird because it's just British Columbia. It's nowhere else, which I think is hilarious. I don't have a good answer here. Hold on a sec here. I'm going to set up another time here because for whatever reason, this is not working. Hey. Hello. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, let's try this again. I think maybe my husband was streaming something. I don't know if that was making a difference.
It might. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, how about this? We'll try this. If you disappear again, we'll make an arrangement for another day because this has been like the BC curse. Last 2 BC chats have been actually 3 of my 4 BC chats have ended up with.
Oh.
Yeah, 3 of my 4.
Oh.
Although the second one, I have to admit that I have to admit the second malfunction had nothing to do with my connection, or it was they literally changed their internet midstream. It was very awkward to stop right in the middle. It was like, yeah, I didn't expect it. Like, that was the last thing I expected, and it was like, so what's going on? Oh, they're changing our internet. Like right now? It's like,
jeez. That's a bit much.
So I don't know. It just seems like for whatever reason there's the British Columbia curse. I don't know. I'm just gonna blame the BC curse. So how about we just start right from the beginning?
Okay.
Because I that was a jumbled
mess.
Start. So
yeah.
For anybody that's tuned in and watching, first off, I'm sorry. Second. Yeah, so we're gonna try this one more time here. So what I was gonna say is like, we're gonna start like you basically we're gonna start like this. You started with a love of traveling because of your teenage years.
Yeah.
And you waited until you retired to start again. So I have a really interesting.
Waited until I retired to go outside of North America.
Outside of North America. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask one question, and then you can decide where we want to go from here. And that's this. Okay. Do you wish you had gone sooner out of North America?
No, I think there was so much to do here, and it was a good preparation. I mean, I had been to Switzerland, so I'd been to England and France and Germany on the way, so I knew a bit about other cultures. But because of being a principal in the inner city, I knew about many cultures. My last school had 45 different language groups. So I got that side of it. And all of the wonderful, rich Asian culture in Vancouver. And I got all of that. Plus I got the skiing and the canoeing and the snowshoeing and everything you can do in North America, and kayaking. And so that prepared me then to go back out of North America.
So, all right, that's cool. Now I have a really, really mischievous question. You may not be able to. You might not want to answer this one on the air. That's totally fine. But I just know. See, knowing how I've learned languages in the past, right? Now, grant you were a teacher. You probably had to frown on this. But one of the easiest ways to learn a language I have found is to learn all the swear words. I imagine with 45 different cultures. So when you curse, you've probably picked up your fair share of words over the years.
But as a principal, I couldn't use them, and the kids wouldn't tell me as the principal, so they would do polite things. You know, I would learn Happy New Year and Happy Easter and whatever in various languages. But yeah, they wouldn't tell me. No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're far too respectful of the principal.
Okay. Because it's a weird thing because I got to the point, like, there was a point with some of my teachers, not all of them, but some of them, you get to the point where they're just human beings again, because they're not your teachers anymore. Like, while they're teaching you, that's different. But when it's over and done with, You're a human being. I'm a human being. Let's,
Mm. No,
hang
that's
out. And
true.
sometimes that you,
Kids,
yeah,
kids who are now like in their 40s and 50s find me on Facebook, or I find them, and now we're just two people, and they tell me stories about what it was like to be in my class, and I say what I remember of them and their family. And yes, it's a whole different thing. But when, these kids were just kindergarten to grade 7,
yeah.
so it took a few years later before they would come back and address me differently and use my first name. That's really something when they use your first name.
Well, that's when you're there. So this is what I'm
Yeah.
going to do. So I have officially made you the host. And every time
Okay.
I've done this in the last time, is led to you disappearing. So I'm hoping it's not the magic jinx. But I think for this particular episode, just due to the nature of it, um, why don't you put on your story cap a little bit, and you have the power. You can choose whatever photos.
I have a bit of a PowerPoint that shows some of the travels.
Well, no. You have the
No?
power. Like you said, you
Oh,
mentioned off the air that. Well, I made you the host.
yes.
Now you can share your screen if you want to show photos. You want to talk about various things on your trip,
Mm-hmm.
on your various trips.
Mm-hmm.
This is your thing. I will just be a tour guide, a tourist, going ooh and ah, and you can actually I mean, you've had some great experiences, and honestly, I mean, this is a big part of what you are as a writer too.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I'm going to try to shut up now and let you take over for a little bit.
Okay.
And you guide wherever you want to go.
I'll try and share the screen, and I'll start in the Yukon. Okay, you can see that?
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Yeah. So that is one of our first adventure trips after we retired. That's my husband on the left, and I'm right in the middle. This is at the Ancient Voices Retreat Center on the Yukon River. It's a retreat center the First Nations of the area leave open for paddlers. We had been out 3 weeks on the Yukon River, and we're one night out of Dawson City. This is our last kind of wilderness night. We've got 8 teenagers with us, and luckily we didn't see any grizzly bears, or we didn't even see any moose actually, but that was one of my first long trips. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next North American trip, kind of for a to leave North America, the first passport trip was the shakedown, was the west half of the coast to coast in England. So we walked over a lot of those styles, lots and lots and lots, but it was pretty cushy because we stayed in, pubs and B&Bs at night, and we had our luggage sent ahead. So that was kind of a good intro for me. It was my first day backpacking, more than 3 days in a row. So then we took a giant leap and went to Tibet. So we flew into Beijing, then we flew to Lhasa at 12,000 feet. We had to kind of lie around for a day because the altitude really gets you. And then we toured around Lhasa. Then we went by 4-wheel drive, 6 days drive west to an area, a sacred mountain called Mount Kailash. And you go on a kora, or a walk around Mount Kailash. And the high point is Drolma, 5,900, which is 18,600 feet. So that was my first time at altitude, and I did okay. And then on the way back, we went to Everest Base Camp on the north side. That's what this photo is. We're with our guide, Wang Du. That was at about 17,500, I think.
So I have a question here because this is also going to be listened to as much as it is going to be described here. There's just a couple things. One, like this is your second trip. So was there more of a because again you're talking about your first time in altitude, your first time doing a bigger trip, a bigger leap into the chasm. So is there more of a conscious decision to get a little bit more outside your comfort zone than your first trip with England?
Oh, absolutely. And because of reading Lost Horizon and Swiss Alps and the mountains, I really wanted to see more. My husband had been a mountain guide before he was a teacher. So this was not his first time at altitude. So he really wanted to go to these places as well. And I wanted to catch up. So.
Fair enough. No, it's just cool. I was just wondering. This is Tibet 2009, ladies and gentlemen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, so that went well. That was about 3.5 weeks. And we figured, if we can go for 3.5 weeks, we could probably go for longer. And the hardest part really, particularly for my husband, is the long flight. You'd have to fly to Hong Kong or Bangkok and then to Kathmandu. It's a long trip, not very comfortable, especially for active people. So we decided if we're going all that way, we might as well stay for a while. So we stayed for 3.5 months in Nepal, because Barry said he wanted to go to Annapurna Base Camp and Annapurna Circuit. And I said, well, I always wanted to go to the the medieval kingdom of Upper Mustan. I'd heard a lot about that. And then we said, well, for there, I suppose we should do Everest Base Camp trek. So we did all of those. But in between treks, we went to this lakeside city, a smaller city called Pokhara, and had pizza and wine and ice cream and got our laundry done and, had a hotel for 3 days and then set out on the next trek. And it was just the two of us with Raj, our guide, on the left, and Keel, our porter, in the back.
Very cool. So a couple questions here. Just a couple. Pizza. I've heard that pizza's different over there, or was it universal, or was it a typical pizza?
In the city, it's pretty universal. When you're out trekking and you have a cook, it can mean flatbread with anything on it that's probably left over. So, yeah, it's crazy. But in the cities, yeah, you can.
Oh, all right, that's fair.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Yeah. So, you only have one picture here.
Yeah.
Was there, because you did a lot, like you were there a long time. Like, what did you learn while you were? Not in terms of like, I'm sure that could be a whole hour just on that alone. But I guess what surprised you the most about going to Nepal? Like, what happened there that you did not expect?
I did get altitude sick at a lower altitude on our first trek. For 3 days, I took Diamox, it's the altitude meds, and then that was like, we'd only been there a couple of weeks. We started out trekking right away. After that 3 days, when we got to lower altitude, I stopped taking the meds. I was totally fine for the next 3 months. And we were at higher altitude again. So weird. Maybe we went a little fast for me at first. It was at 12,000 feet. Either seems to make it or break it for me. But if we go very slowly, and what we did was I took the meds for 3 days and we stayed at the same altitude for an extra day. And that's the reason it's great. If you can afford it, it's a tiny bit more, but to go just your partner or friend and your guide and porter, because there's I would feel a lot of pressure if we were in a big group to go ahead to keep up. We didn't have to worry about that. Raj, our guide, just said, well, why don't we stay here a day? So we did. And then, you see, in Tibet, we'd actually been with a larger group and they were grand people. We really enjoyed them, but it was harder to make decisions on your own because you have to, of course, take into consideration all the group.
So that makes sense. This one was more about you guys. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. And so we really got to be good friends with these guys, obviously, taking that much time with them. And we heard about their families and their village and everything. And so we kind of changed our itinerary a bit. And we were going to go and visit their villages before we went home. But then in Namche Bazaar, above Lukla's where you fly back to Kathmandu from the Everest Base Camp circuit. And in Namche Bazaar, after going to Everest Base Camp and climbing Kalabatar, Barry had some kind of angina attack, and we had to be helicopter evacuated down to Lukla and then Lukla to Kathmandu. And he had a stent put in one of his arteries at midnight in Kathmandu. It was very exciting. Luckily, we got an amazing doctor. So everything was fine. Everything's still fine. He's still very fit, and we've trekked at altitude since. But it cut it short. We couldn't go. We couldn't go and meet the boys' families. So we planned a return trip. But we couldn't go on the return trip because Barry ruptured his Achilles tendon. and wasn't able to travel. Yeah, horrible. But because my sister was ill, my best friend had just beat cancer, and I was 67, I thought, if I don't go now, I might never go. Like, maybe I'll be the next one to get sick. So I went by myself. So in 2014, here I am getting back in. This is the first day in the office at 8th Himalaya, the trekking company we go with, and I'm handing over $1,000. And that 1,000 was raised by friends and family because I'm going out to the villages to volunteer in the school, and we want to buy school supplies. So this gentleman, Prem Khatri, is the one that, he came from that village, and he hires all his guides and porters from the villages. So the next morning, Raj, the same guide, and I went out and bought school supplies and had to come back by rickshaw, and I almost lost him and got lost. But we made it, and the next day we went out to the village, and that was my home base at the village. So the blue tent is the cook tent, the yellow, bright yellow, is my little dining tent and where I did my marking and stuff. And I was volunteering at the school up there, and I slept in the dome tent.
So what was it like teaching out there?
Totally different from Canada. It was really bizarre. And that school has now gone. It was totaled in the earthquake in 2015. And through that iron gate that you can see, and up to the right-hand side of the slide, was the one Western toilet in the village that they had reserved for me. All the rest are squat toilets, which you have to use when you're there. And there was one tap in the village only. So showers were non-existent. So this is first day of school. They asked me to sing "O Canada." Like, they all sang their national anthem, they're all lined up in grade groups, and they asked me to sing mine. When you're a principal, you kind of sing the first note and everybody joins in, but of course nobody joins in Nepal. And I almost forgot the words halfway through. I was so emotional and choked up. And I thought, well, it doesn't really matter. They don't know the words anyhow. I could sing anything, right? But I did get it together, and I finished. So there I am. That's what the schoolroom looks like. So Locked up whiteboards in a cement bunker classroom with no supplies.
I believe it.
Yeah, that's
I believe it.
Yeah. Raj is helping. He kind of morphed from trekking guide into classroom assistant. And I wouldn't let him leave the room because the kids didn't know very much English. This is a grade 2 class.
So I mean, one of the things like I've experienced poverty in the States. It's not quite the same, but but you do one of the things you do realize when you travel about and you see things is that things we take for granted aren't always available, and what people value, like I said, one tap, one toilet.
Yeah.
People do not realize how wealthy, by and large, we are over here. Mm-hmm. So so there is that.
Yeah.
So were you teaching English? Was that what you were teaching?
I was teaching English, so I was teaching the alphabet, which they knew, kind of reviewing it and new words. And then I was teaching simple English songs with actions, because I used to teach French as a second language. So this was kind of the same thing, only teaching English to kids who didn't speak English. So it was fun. It was fun, but I really thought I knew everything, and I soon realized I didn't, and I had to take a step back and watch the other teachers and see how they managed the kids, because it was very different.
Well, So okay, I'm going to ask one question that you talk about how it's very different. It is. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go the opposite way. Where were they similar?
Oh, they really wanted to learn, and they really wanted to listen. And they really wanted my attention. And they were very smart, very bright kids. Yeah, they caught on to things very, very quickly and had lots of fun. Yeah.
Little things. Very cool. Very cool.
So then I kind of, got to know the village a little bit. On the left, I was lucky enough to attend a Hindu wedding. These two were an arranged marriage. Most of the guides and porters and people I know are love marriages. but there still are some arranged marriages.
Mm-hmm.
These two had not spent much time together. You can tell they're not looking awfully happy. The couple on the right were the owners of one of the very few refrigerators in the area, because there was some electricity. It had just reached the village about 15 months before we got there. So we would walk about a 10-minute walk down the hill, past all the different terraces of corn and maize and stuff. These guys had a little shop where we could buy pencils and erasers and for the children, but also they had a fridge. So Raj and I would go down there after school and kind of debrief the day and share a big Everest beer or a Gorka beer. So that was our favorite spot at the end of the day, because it was I'd left Silver Star with big snow banks in April and, negative -20 temperatures. And when I got there, it was plus 30, 35, 40 and very humid. So it was a real shock.
Yeah.
So Everest beer was good at the end of the day.
It would be. It would very well be, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard day's work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I left. This is the last day with the teachers. I took them little maple cookies, those Canada maple cookies. We had a tea party, and yeah, they were great. They worked very, very hard. That's one thing that's the same. Teachers work very hard and really care about the kids. Same in Canada and there. Only they are in much more difficult circumstances. But they sure were a fun group of people that cared for the children.
Yeah.
So then we went to take school supplies to all the different villages around that, the school supplies we'd bought in Kathmandu. And Raj saved a surprise for me for the last. They took me to this village called Aprik, and no one had gone there before. No Westerners had ever gone there. I was the first foreigner to visit. So they had these rows of kids with flowers and welcoming and everything. And they wanted me to see their old school that was falling down around the children. And it did fall down in the earthquake, but they asked for my help. They said, would you help us build a new school for our 225 kids? And I felt like a real imposter. I thought, what? I couldn't do that. What can I do? Do they think all Westerners are rich? So I kind of felt badly when I left, but the idea stayed with me. And then we went, as I said, to this place for pizza and beer, the same place, it's called Pokhara, it's a lakeside town, really touristy town. But it was great to have a little rest, and Raj's wife met him, and they had a few days together before Raj and I were ready to head out, because we're heading out for a month-long trek now up to Upper Mustang, this Buddhist area, the medieval kingdom, and you have to have a special permit to get in there. So this is the end point. It's a village called Kagbeni, and you cannot go past that flagpole unless you have a special permit. And then you're going to walk 5-6 days ahead into the mountains to a medieval walled village called Lomantang, the capital of Upper Mustang. So you walk along the Kaligandaki River Valley. So the first place we stopped was called Burkuti Lodge in Chuksang village. And this gentleman is named Erkan. And my whole idea was to go and write travel articles. That was why I was wanting to do it. So I was interviewing him in the family kitchen, which was a real honor. Usually they only let the guides and porters in. They don't let the tourists into the family kitchen, but I got to hang out with him. And I thought, gee, maybe I could, I had a good interview with him. I thought maybe I really could be a travel writer after all. And then here I am with Raj and the two porters that we were with. We had an extra porter for tents because the lodges in some towns in that area are a bit dicey. They're better now, but they were a bit dicey then. So we had a backup. We had tents. We're at about 14,000 feet there, I think, over a high pass. And we've been walking for about 5 days, and it's one more day till we get to this medieval walled kingdom. And when we got to the kingdom, we were there for about 3 days before all the tourists came. And then several thousand tourists came by jeep and helicopter and trekking. and horseback, all to see this special Tiji festival. It's a 3-day Buddhist festival with dancing and ceremonies, and it's really magical. And it was probably the last appearance of the 25th king of Upper Mustang, the gentleman with the red hat, being helped away. He was in his 80s there, and he died in 2016. But so we were lucky to see him. He was there every day for the 3 days, met some great people from all over the world. But then all those people left. They were only there for those 3 days, really not, to me, not for the culture and the people as much. So we stayed another week so we could really get to know the real people of the village and what their lives were like. And one of the people I met was this gentleman, Kenpo Swang. Kenpo is like a doctorate. So he runs the Namgyal Monastery way up above Lomantang, close to the Tibet border. And he runs a monastery school as well, and it's a boarding school. And in the wintertime, the kids are in the lakeside city of Pokhara, but in the summer, they're up in this area. And the kids that come to this school would have absolutely no education at all because they live in such desolate rural areas that there are no schools. So they come in and live in this dormitory with Kenpo Swang and the teachers. And he goes to Singapore every year for 5 months and does Buddhist teaching to make money, to raise funds for the school. So we had a really, really good talk. It was like talking to another colleague principal in Canada. And he really gave me a lot of ideas about how I could maybe make a difference to that village, Aprak village, that had asked me for their help. So Bill had, when we left, 5 or 6 days to walk south. This is Niala, my favorite high pass, 14 something. And it's just absolutely beautiful. I saved all my mini Mars bars and mini Kit Kats for when you get to a high pass, you get to have a mini chocolate bar. They're melted and lumpy, but you know what? They still taste good.
Yeah, they taste good. They lumpy, and you appreciate those things when you're up there. It's like, I got nothing, but you know what? I got this chocolate. Life is good.
That's it exactly.
Yeah. Little things matter.
So we had a long way to go still, but Raj convinced me we should go off the beaten track and try a trail he had never followed. So of course I never had either. And so we ended up inside this beautiful place that is a cave monastery. You go down a deep, deep, dark canyon, and then you climb up the side of a cliff. It's only been rediscovered in the last 20, 30 years by some local monks. And inside this area, there are 3 giant 2-story statues of Buddha. And to gain merit, you walk around behind the back of them. And so, but because they have butter lamps burning all the time, there's a lot of soot on the floor. And I slipped and really hurt my hip. And my hip was also already bad because we'd been T-boned twice in car accidents, no fault of ours. So I always had kind of an issue. So this lovely lady is serving tea after I fell to try and calm me down because we still had about a 4-hour trek to the next village out of there. So she and her husband lived there 6 hours walk from the closest village and up in this cliff in this cave on a high cliff. And they had a little toddler, 1.5 years. He never fell off the walkway. He just knew, I guess he knew. But, over here we would have had social services going and taking him away probably because it was too dangerous.
Well, it's... See, over there they don't have, again, sometimes you don't have luxuries. And one of those, and when you learn, and the other thing too, kids learn incredibly fast.
Exactly.
Like at 1.5, 2 years old, they recognize things quickly, right?
Yeah.
So there's curiosity. Like sometimes, like we always joke about the burning stove because of that curiosity, and kids do have it. But if kids see, hey, wait, that's a long way down. I don't want to take that
Exactly.
leap. They,
Yeah.
they ain't jumping. You ain't
Yep.
gonna make
Yep.
them jump. They're like, I ain't doing it. Right? I ain't doing it. So, um, I kind of look at that. I kind of look at that twofold. I recognize this too. Like we all live in our own like unique circumstances, and we have to do the best we can with the circumstances we have.
Yep.
And it sounds like that's what this family just did. It like that is their circumstances,
Yep.
and that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, tough. That's just that is where they're at. It's not. Again, if you look at a lot of what we have here, and I've said this, and this I hope when people watch this or listen to this understand, you really don't understand how luxurious it really is here,
Yep.
right? You really don't until you see people with nothing, and then when you do, you're like, oh crap, right? And it makes you rethink how everything works.
And she was such a serene personality. She was absolutely lovely. So I don't know how long it took her, but it would take me an hour to walk down that cliffside to get to the stream where they got their water. They also had a rain barrel, but not much. It's a very dry, high plateau. It's like the Tibetan plateau almost, roof of the world. So they probably had to go down there once a day to get water. And you know what? They're probably really fit because of it. So yeah. Anyhow, so from there, we had to walk 3 days, I guess, and get to a town called Johnson. We were supposed to get an airplane, Johnson to Kathmandu. Couldn't get it because it's so windy in that valley that they only fly planes very early in the morning for a couple of hours, and they're small planes, 18-seaters. So we missed the weather conditions day 1 and day 2. So day 3, we had to take a bus, which is, you never want to take a bus, sorry. Don't take a public bus, it's just too crazy. But we took a bus a third of the way, and on the bus I met a couple from New Zealand and one from Australia. We decided, and their guides, we decided to join forces. So we got together and hired a Jeep for the next third of the trip. And then Raj got a car sent from Kathmandu for the last third. So I finally got back to Kathmandu. And then, interesting, Prem, the gentleman that I handed the money to at the first, took me to a Rotary Club meeting in Kathmandu, the Rotary Club of Mount Everest. And he said, you need to join Rotary if you want to help that village, Aprik village. If you want to help them get a school, Rotary would be good, because he already worked with Rotary in Australia and had done some work for the villages. So I had 3 days when I got to Vancouver and finally back to Kelowna and to Silver Star. I had 3 days to unpack, do the laundry, repack, and we flew to Ontario to our summer cottage north of Kingston. That's where this is. And all summer, I reflected on what the heck can I do to help these people? Who am I? What can I possibly do? So we finally, in the fall, when we got back to Silver Star, we formed a nonprofit, Nepal One Day at a Time. And I joined the big Rotary Club in Vernon, Kalamalka Rotary, and started talking about the project. And then, a year to the day after I'd been in that village, the massive earthquake hit Nepal, and 8,000 people were killed. And that village and the nearby village where I was teaching were right almost at the epicenter of the earthquake. So they lost all their homes, their schools crumbled, and in Aprik village that I'd asked for my help, 4 people were killed. And so my husband is a really good photographer, so he put together a wonderful trekking slideshow that we showed at Silver Star, and didn't charge admission. We said by donation, and we raised our first $1,000 that night. And then we started working on what could we do to get enough money to build a school. So over the next few years, that's what we did. You know, trekking slideshows, summer fairs. We sold photograph art cards, got donations. And in 2017, here we are being welcomed back to the village. They had a parade of the entire village to meet us because they had the first 4 classrooms of the school built. And we were there to kind of open the school back in April, back on the anniversary of the earthquake. On the left, that's my husband and I, and then Prem, the gentleman from the trekking company, and the sister NGO, and then Mary Jackson, who was a past president of Rotary. So more Rotarians are getting involved. And then I went back in 2018 just by myself for 3 weeks because I wanted to see the school complete. So here's the grades 5, 6, 7, and 8 kids. It's 7 a.m. The teachers are giving them extra classes in the morning before school because they think they're so far behind because of the earthquake. Because that time before, when we were there, they'd still been in a shelter school. It was a dirt floor, corrugated tin, and bamboo holding up the tin. So these teachers were working very, very hard to make this happen. And all of this resulted in me writing this book, Nepal One Day at a Time, which tells really the story I just told you. But the neat part is now, not only are there 8 classrooms, it's called Devi Jal Kumari School. A Japanese group built some more classrooms. So now instead of kindergarten to grade 8 with 200 kids, there's kindergarten to grade 10 with 350 kids. We've taken library books. We're getting the school electricity put in the school. We're getting computers for them. And, you know, lots going on. We've got enough money now to rebuild 2 homes in the village. And that's what's up next when we finally get to go back.
Okay, that's a
So
lot.
that's kind of a big story, but that's it.
No, it's a cool story. It's, you know, it's how could, wow, how do I start? How do I start this?
Let me get out of the share.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, to share.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's just like, that's a wow. Like, that's a big time wow. No.
Yes, it makes me tired.
Hey, Remnowski. Hello. How you doing? Sorry for the delay. This was just an incredible story I got enraptured in about how Patti made a difference in the world in a really, really positive way, which is absolutely incredible. Honestly, like, I encourage people to come on the show and tell a story. But you did that one. You not only heard a story, you made a conscious decision to make a big difference in the world. Like, you saw what was going on and you did something about it. Not many people would do that.
Well, but the really neat thing is, I really want to do something about it, but I really couldn't do it by myself. So we formed the nonprofit with a banker, a paramedic, my husband also a teacher, another teacher and myself as directors, but then the Rotary Club got involved. And then our group of friends and teachers, it just expanded, and now people in Vernon know more about it, and our friends in Ontario. So the network just grows and grows, and it's really amazing what people will do when they have a chance to be involved. And other Rotarians have gone to the village too. So yeah, it's neat the way it's happened.
Well, see, it's something I realized when, I got my teeth fixed, because I asked for help to get my teeth fixed, because first off, that village is stronger than a lot of places are. I mean, because I think they had each other, but they were also willing to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly hard thing to do. There are members of my own family that can't do that. Mm-hmm. They don't have that in them. on a personal note, the biggest difference between me, my father, and my grandmother is I'm the only one of the three that will ask for help.
Mm.
Right? Because I recognize something that you recognize, and a lot of people have already recognized. We all can change the world by ourselves. We can do it, but it's when we work together that we can actually truly build something that can last.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Like, I can accomplish a lot on my own, but there's a lot of things I can't accomplish. Like, because I can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
You got the ball rolling, right?
And that's it.
I mean,
I think, I learned as a principal too in the inner city,
mm-hmm.
collaboration with others and a positive climate around a project makes all the difference in the world. And if you can get people to buy into it and collaborate, then it's their project too. And they know they're making a difference,
Well, it's, I mean, and you did. Like, those people are a little bit better off than when you met them. Mm-hmm. Some people wonder about that sometimes. You don't have to wonder. You've seen it. Mm-hmm. Start to finish.
Oh, no, it's not finished.
Well, no. Not yet, no. Maybe not
no. After we organized the school, there's a lot of kids that have to walk more than 2 hours a day, so they don't always come to school. So we've got space now. They have space now to have dormitories for the boys and girls that have too far to walk. And so we'd like to, do bunk rooms and a kitchen for those kids, for them to have food at the school. And then my dream is something called a full service school, which I always dreamt about in the inner city, and it never really happened. But what I mean by that is there'd be a room set aside for maybe a dentist to come once every 2 weeks, or a doctor to come and check them up. There's 6 hours walk from the closest health post, and that's only in a town of 4,000.
Me and you have a similar dream. Similar. I may have promised to myself that if I ever made it as an author, as an artist, one of the things I would do is whatever city I lived in at that time, one of the thoughts I had was to open a soup kitchen. And in that soup kitchen, I would have a doctor, right? A doctor, probably some kind of preacher or counselor or something along those lines.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, because like you can look around, and the truth of the matter is, we can solve every problem that's out there. Doesn't really matter how big it seems or how ginormous it is. Every problem can be resolved. Everything can turn around. Now, it might not. Now, I might only be able to take a small piece out of it. Yeah. But I know this too from my own experience. Helping somebody that's hungry, helping somebody that has to get a meal. That sometimes is the difference between life and death on its own. Yeah. You're going even one step further though, because what you're doing too is you are. Hopefully, I never questioned teachers' ability to care. Other things maybe, but never that. Yeah. I think the cool thing is you've given those kids, you've given that village an opportunity to learn and grow, and one day reach beyond the village. Yeah. Because that's an amazing gift. Like, that's honestly an incredible gift. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know you didn't do that by yourself, but if we're talking legacy, and I know you didn't do it for the legacy. No, you didn't do it for the legacy. You did it because you wanted to help. Mm-hmm.
Well, and you say going beyond too. After the kids finish grade 10, which is the end of high school, that's the end of their education, unless the family has money, and very few do. So the next thing is scholarships as well. Yeah. So then the other thing, part of the full service school that I've just thought of the other day, is if we have a computer room for the kids during the day, have computer classes for the parents at night. We used to do that in the downtown east side. And I just remembered that we could do that now, or they could. These are just big ideas to, to talk over with the principal and see if he's got lots of good ideas too.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing because people, even like looking at our current problems, like even just looking at our current problems.
Mm.
If there's one thing in this talk I really do hope people get out of this, is no matter how big and scary these problems may seem, anybody can make an act and change things. Anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's, I think, might be, well, there's a lot of lessons to get from what you've done, but that one I think is a good one. That one's a good one to tell the powerful no.
But just also when you step out of your comfort zone, you can do amazing things and the rewards are wonderful. You know what, I wasn't always comfortable. I mean, we had a cook with us, and because I couldn't stay in a homestay because I have a bit of asthma, and people in those villages cook inside, so I couldn't live in a house. But, you know, I didn't have a shower for a week or two sometimes. Sometimes I was pretty tired, trekking in Upper Mustang, you know, very tired some days. But it was worth it. All of it is worth it.
It's, step out of your comfort zone is where the magic happens. Me, I've been teaching myself how to draw. I don't know if you've ever watched anything I've posted online. I made a link with the most obnoxious boots you'll ever see. I discovered the secret of a porn stash drawing Lego. I've learned these wonderful, magical, outside the comfort zone things.
Yeah.
But somehow I feel if there's one thing I got from you tonight, it's this. I can go farther still. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for thinking of it. I can go farther too.
Yo, absolutely.
Yeah. There's so much that's out there that's possible.
So, see, I'm really sad because we're really out of time, and that sucks. And that's a really, really darn shame too, because that's a good story. That's a really good story, and yeah. So, because of the unusual nature of this chat, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to share it as it is on Zoom. Like normally I wait a week and do this. I'm going to share this on my Facebook and Twitter tonight to let people see it because this was a little unusual, as I told you before off the air. Zoom and Twitch don't like each other very much. I tend not to do these chats in Zoom or Twitch too often. But this is too good of a story not to tell. And so as we wrap up, because again we've hit the time we've agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell people about your charity, about your book, how people can find you for more information, and go from there.
Okay. Well, the main thing to know about the book is that all profits go back to education in the village, in both the villages. So we don't take any profits from it. So every sale of every book will make a difference. People can find me at my website, PattiShalesLefkos.com, and you can contact me through the website. The book is on Amazon.com and CA. It's available in Kindle and Kobo. But if you want to contact me through the website and you're in Canada, I can tell you how to get the book directly from me, and then 100% of the money doesn't go to anybody else. It goes to the kids.
So what's the website so I can actually put it up myself?
www.PattiShalesLefkos. So PattiShalesLefkos.com.
Done and done.
And the book is Nepal One Day at a Time, and the nonprofit is also called Nepal One Day at a Time.
At a time. I'm just typing this up, ladies. Nonprofit. So, I'm just gonna say this before I wrap up. This was I knew tonight would be different. Like, this was not, as you can tell, by and large, I shut up, which is not something I do I do very often on my own show. But this was a good enough story, a good once. Patti is is very well traveled. She goes out of her comfort zone. She's adventurous. She's had, and as you can tell, just this tiny glimpse tonight in an amazing life. And I thought tonight would be a cool chance to share just a tiny bit of it, based on this. And when I wanted to do the talk show, she was literally one of the first people I chatted about getting on the show, because I thought I enjoyed chatting with her on the audio. I thought, I hope you get anyone watching this. This was something really special. Any of you listening to this, just listening, find my YouTube show, watch it completely start to finish. This might be probably one of the more important conversations I've done on this show.
Oh.
No, seriously.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity for me to share my story.
Yeah, so
Great.
That will do it for the night. We're going to go back a little bit more back to normal tomorrow night with Denise Black. But I did want to thank Patti once again for coming. Check out Nepal One Day at a Time, the nonprofit, or the book. If you want to support this podcast, hit the subscribe button on Twitch, the follow button. I'm literally at the door of being an affiliate. I'm so close it's not even funny. It's hilarious. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. You will watch this show here. In fact, I don't normally do this fast. I'm probably going to put this up tomorrow. It's that important. I think it's worth mentioning. To everybody else that are watching, listening, thank you for watching or listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. If there's one thing this conversation I hope that you do leave with, is that even there is magic in this world. And sometimes it's right in front of you. Anyways, guys, you have yourselves a great night. And I'll talk to you soon. Alright. Let's stop let's go on a second here. How do I shut this down? It's been a while. That one's done. Where the heck do I shut this bad boy down? Right here. Come on. No, where? Where the heck do I get rid of Oh, awkward. How about we continue our conversation off the air? Did I just hit the leave button so this shuts down? Real quick, just a couple little things before we wrap up. To everybody else, good night. I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm the pretty one. Kind of, sort of. Anyways, have yourselves a good night. Take care.